Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Absinthe Frappè, and it is the featured cocktail in today's episode. I'm going to start with our shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add absinthe, 1 1/2 ounces. And simple syrup, 1/2 an ounce. Next, we shake. Take our glass, julep cup, I guess, filled with crushed ice. We strain our beverage in there. We stir. Put a little more crushed ice in. There you have it, boys and girls, the Absinthe Frappè. Tastes like absinthe and sugar. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
Maybe, while listening to an Iron Maiden album or throwing horns at one of their concerts, you stopped for just a moment and thought, I wonder what Bruce Dickinson thinks about when he's not crushing it with his musical genius. Well, if that's even remotely crossed your mind, have we got the movie for you. This week on the Scary Spirits podcast, we watch Crowley, a movie written by Bruce Dickinson, in all his free time. All I'm going to say is, it might help to have a few adult beverages with absinthe, and then maybe another one or two to get ready for this one. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hey, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different, yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed, Karen. How are you?
I'm a bit confused, Greg. Just gonna say that right here.
Dazed and confused, or just confused?
Probably both. This is quite the movie you've picked. How are you, Greg?
I'm slightly confused as well. and I've seen it more than once, Karen.
Wow.
I actually said, "Oh, okay," this time as I was watching it.
Well, good, because maybe you can hold my hand and make it all make sense to me.
Maybe I did, but you probably caught more the first time than I did.
I don't think so.
All right, Karen. I believe this film was my choice, was it? Was it not?
It was. You want to tell everyone why you chose it? Please tell everyone why you chose it.
Well, shouldn't I tell them what it is first?
Well, what and why?
Yes, what and why. So the film I have chosen was released in the good old United States of America as Crowley. Across the pond, it was released as The Chemical Wedding, which I like better. I like that title better, but whatever. Why do they do that, Karen? Let's just why?
Do they dumb it down for us Americans?
I don't know. Why? This isn't the first movie we've done where it's like name one thing in the UK and something else here. I think they do. Well, this isn't a Hollywood film, but but I think they do dumb it down for us
Americans.
Well, I was looking for something like
Yankees
or treasonists, traitors. Us traitors over here with our own ideas about running our own country. But whatever. I just find it curious. So anyway, from 2008, Crowley or The Chemical Wedding. The reason I picked it, Karen, is that what you asked?
Multiple times, yes.
Well, this is based on a screenplay written by a guy named Bruce Dickinson. I think
I've heard of him. Is he
singer
famous or something?
Some singer in some big rock band or something. I don't know.
Some little known rock band.
Yeah.
Niche rock band.
So his birthday is August 7th. And if you're listening to this episode when it goes live, it is August 9th, boys and girls. So there you go. Happy birthday, Bruce Dickinson. We are celebrating his birthday.
How old is he?
I'm doing the math. Hang on, Karen.
Carry the one.
He is 65 years old today, Karen. And he's the baby. He's the baby of the group. All right.
He still runs around with the best of them.
He's born in 1958, Karen. 65 years old. He does. I wish he'd cut his hair short again, though, but whatever.
Okay. Fashion advice from Greg.
Yeah, just me. Just my thing. I also have a cocktail, Karen, in case you were wondering.
We're going to need one. What is it?
Well, I might need a cocktail for this cocktail, Karen. The cocktail I have chosen, almost as good as my movie choice, is the Absinthe Frappè. I think that's how you say it. It
might be even better than your movie choice, depending on how you look at it.
Is that how you say it, Karen?
I think so. Frap. It's a frap.
It's a New Orleans cocktail, Karen. You've been to New Orleans. That's one of your favorite places in the world, isn't it?
It is.
And apparently Mr. Aleister Crowley spent some of his lifetime there, and this was one of his favorite cocktails. Absinthe Frappè. Pretty simple cocktail.
How do you make it?
Well, Karen, we're going to need 1.5 ounces of absinthe.
Your favorite.
Yeah. 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. A mint if you have one for garnish.
A mint? No, it's mint, the plant.
Mint, sprig of mint.
Yes, okay.
A sprig of mint.
Not like a Tic Tac that you throw in there.
The ingredients say mint for garnish.
Okay.
So that's what I said.
You said a mint.
Oh, okay. So basically,
it's gonna be a long one.
Okay, I have like 6 pages of notes for this fucking movie. But anyway, we're going to take our absinthe and our simple syrup. We're going to add that to a cocktail shaker filled with 3/4 the way with ice. We're going to shake until chilled, about 12 seconds. Did you count down 12 seconds, Karen?
No, but it doesn't take very long.
Then we're going to strain that into a double rocks glass or a julep cup filled with crushed ice. So it's kind of like a slushy kind of thing, right? Then we're going to stir and top with more crushed ice and then garnish with a sprig of mint if you have such a thing.
Is the crushed ice what makes it a frap?
Fuck, I don't know. You tell me, Karen.
I have no idea.
What's a frap? Frappé.
Frappé.
It's got like one of them accent marks over the E, so it must be frappé.
I'm sure it is. It's just black licorice in a glass, which if you like black licorice, it's fine. If you don't, you're going to struggle.
It's going to make me have hallucinations.
That's probably why he liked it so much.
Probably.
Because back in the day,
he probably got the good absinthe.
Yeah, he got the good stuff.
Hi, Karen. Should we give our friends and listeners, time to make their own cocktail?
Of course.
If they choose to. Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, Karen. Might you have a brief synopsis of this film for us?
I do.
Please, Karen, tell me a story.
Well, it's kind of a weird synopsis, but I'm just going to read it anyway. More than 60 years after his death, the demonic life and works of British occultist Aleister Crowley has continued to capture the darkest imaginations. In this thriller, a virtual reality experiment gone wrong sends the soul of the infamous madman into the body of a shy university professor.
I like that one, Karen. It's a lot better than mine. That's a pretty good one. When
I could have just read the second sentence, I guess, but gives you a little background.
The synopsis I found was, occultist Aleister Crowley reincarnates in the body of a Cambridge professor.
So how do you say the name? They say Wait, we say Crowley.
It's true.
They say Crowley.
It is pronounced Crowley, and
But I've always heard it as Crowley. Is that because of the Black
I know. Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne song, Mr. Crowley.
Oh, is it Ozzy Osbourne? My apologies.
It's all his fault. Or Bob Daisley, really. Who was the bass player who really wrote all the words.
Yeah, but it's the pronunciation that we're...
I know, it's true, but
you just wanted to get that fact in there.
I did.
I'll probably say Crowley because I'm used to the...
I will too, but I
already have. Ozzy.
I already have. And as I was watching the film, I was thinking to myself, I got to remember to say Crowley, but whatever. Are we ready to get into it, Karen? Anything we need to cover first?
Well, have you seen it before? You said you've seen it multiple times.
I have seen it before, yes.
Sober?
I rented.
Because I'm wondering if it might be better.
Right before our local Blockbuster closed, I rented this at Blockbuster.
Was that when it came out? Close to? I don't know when the local...
It was a little bit after.
Well, so it went into the theaters then?
I don't know.
Or was it a straight to video?
Don't know. I don't remember ever seeing it here anywhere. So
you would have noticed it, I think.
I think so. It may have played in theaters over across the pond, but I doubt it did here. It might have. I don't know. It may have made it like to some, the Esquire or a drive-in theater here and there. I don't know.
An art theater or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did. I paid for this.
Only $1.99.
True.
Pretty cheap one.
Pleased with that.
$1.99 plus tax. So the film begins, Karen, and it's rated 18 plus. No other warnings. I guess that covers it.
Is there's everything in it? No
one under 18 admitted without parent or guardian or 21-year-old boyfriend or girlfriend, I guess. I don't know. So we have credits. And as the credits play, we hear the song Chemical Wedding by Bruce Dickinson, Aaron, off his solo album of the same name, The Chemical Wedding. A very good solo album. Probably his best solo album. I do love that album, which is what originally brought me to rent this movie at Blockbuster all those years ago. And as the credits are rolling, we see lots of newspaper headlines and stories and pictures about Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, sacrificing babies and things like that.
The most wicked man in the world.
Yes.
Then we have words to read. Hastings, England, 1947. Is that how you say that? Hastings?
I think so.
And we hear a song about the boogeyman. More credits is...
It's a happy tune, though, right?
It is.
An old-timey happy tune.
It is. It's called Hush, Hush, Here Comes the Boogeyman, or the Bogeyman, actually.
It looks like a rich man's car, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
I don't know.
Fancy English convertible car driving through the English countryside, and apparently there's two guys in it, and they're going to go meet Aleister Crowley. They knock on the door.
Well, one tells the other to behave.
Yes. They knock on the door, and who answers, Karen?
I don't know.
Bruce Dickinson.
Oh.
He answers the door. And I didn't catch it the first time I watched it. I didn't catch that the second time. I had to go back and begin it again at the end because I knew he had a couple cameos and I missed this one. So I went back and watched the beginning. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Bruce Dickinson. Of course it is. But it's 2008 Bruce Dickinson. So looks a little different.
He recognizes one of the boys.
Yeah. He says, you know your way up. And he gives them some mail.
Yeah.
Take this with you. And so the guys meet Crowley, and he don't look so good, Karen.
No. So there's two boys. Simon's, I think his first name's Oliver or something, but most often they call him Simons. And then the other guy's Alex.
He's just credited as Simons, so I have no idea.
But Alex is not impressed. I guess Simons has built him up, and the place is a dump. And Alex says he's just a forgotten man of magic. And Simon says, well, he still has followers in America. And then they go in to see the decrepit Crowley.
So it must be December 1st, 1947, apparently.
Yes, that comes back later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we learned that Simmons has met with him many times and that this Alex, the other guy who's with him, is a science student.
Yes, Crowley calls it the new magic.
Yeah, Crowley gives him a little shit about it.
Yeah.
Then Crowley opens a book and starts telling Simons about ancient rituals going back to Osiris. And Horus, apparently Horus was a virgin birth.
Yeah, so Seth, a little bit of mythology. Osiris was betrayed by Seth. Seth cut his body into 15 parts and scattered them all over the land of Egypt. And Isis, who was his wife, Osiris's wife, not Seth's wife, finds most of them and puts them back together using magic. I think we talked about it at some point a little bit, but she was missing one piece, Greg.
What was that, Karen?
The phallus.
The phallus.
Mm-hmm. So she used a reed as a substitute. She performed a wedding.
Like a cattail reed.
I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but yeah, I guess. And then they had a wedding night and they brought forth Horus. So he's considered a virgin birth. It's a non-carnal union.
Okay. And
then he names a bunch of other people who have had virgin births, and I didn't recognize any of them. They must be from the Bible. But maybe no, I did look up.
You recognize Mary, did you recognize Mary?
But he didn't say. He said Joshua with Magdalene. And he said Abelard with Heloise. And I actually looked that up. I couldn't find Magdalene and Joshua.
Probably in the forbidden text, Karen.
Maybe. But they
can't have a bunch of virgin births. That would ruin the whole Bible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So
everybody's got a virgin birth.
You get a virgin birth and you get a virgin birth. Heloise and Abelard, I guess that's how you say it, were a teacher and a student who fell in love, but their very steamy and secret affair came to an end when her uncle, who she was staying with, found out about it and castrated Abelard for carrying on with his niece. But there's a book of their letters that are apparently very steamy.
In the Bible?
No, a separate book. I don't think they're in the Bible.
Okay. I was about to say, you get in trouble for that shit now. Teacher and a student, but apparently he got in trouble.
He got in big trouble. Apparently, he was about 20 years older than her. He's definitely older than her. And the other thing, before we go any further, the two students are from Trinity College, which is part of the University of Cambridge in England. And it's larger than any other college in Cambridge, with around 660 undergrads, 430 graduate students, and over 160 fellows. You want to guess when it was founded?
Long time ago, Karen, I bet you. Like 1457.
Yeah, 1546 by King.
God damn it, I had all the numbers.
I know all the
almost.
numbers were there. By King Henry VIII.
Okay. So next, Crowley opens the letter that Bruce Dickinson sent up to him, and he's expecting money to be in it, but there is none.
Yeah, and he's pissed.
He's pissed. Apparently the followers in California or some shit are trying to produce a moonchild, he reads.
The head of the California Brethren is falling under the spell of a writer of science fiction. They're doing his scarlet ritual to produce the moonchild.
Yes.
And he's pissed. He's going to get revenge on Jack Parsons.
Jack Parsons. That's what I was looking for. Because that name comes back later.
And then he says, leave me. Because when he goes to the letter, he thinks that he's going to have money in it because Simon says, I don't know exactly why Simons is there. I guess Crowley's teaching him his ways.
Yeah, and he needs to like go buy some shit or something for a ritual, right? And he says, here, this money will take care of it, but there's no money.
Yes, and Simon says, I keep saying Simon says he can't afford to come back.
That's true. But that's what it is.
He tries to go give him the money from the envelope and it's not there. But he says, leave me. I need my medication. And Alex wants to know what a moonchild is. And Simon says a moonchild is an elemental, a reincarnated soul in the body created by ritual.
Also the title or the first track on the Iron Maiden album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It's called Moonchild.
Oh, okay. And Alex thinks this is all just bullshit and Crowley's crazy, but Simon says Crowley's had 9 previous lives and he can document them all. And they're all fixed in time with a chemical wedding. Yeah.
And the elemental is a reincarnate produced by sexual magic.
Yes.
So then Alex and Simons hear a noise from inside the room. They go in and Crowley's laying on the floor with a needle in his arm, pocket watch in his hand, ticking.
He needs his medicine.
Yes. Simmons runs out. Then Alex is there and Crowley grabs Alice and curses him.
Because he steals his pocket watch.
Yeah, he tries.
He takes the watch.
I don't know if he's stealing it. He just takes it.
Well, why do you think he got cursed? He says he curses the hand that steals my time. What he says. Mm-hmm. Don't steal from anyone, especially most evil man in the entire world. Note to self.
So then Alex runs out and then we see Crowley is pronounced dead. And he died on December 1st, 1947. So that's why I said it must be December 1st. Doesn't look like December, but it must be. Trees are still green, but whatever.
Yes, and when Alex runs out, his hand's all bloody, and then there's some like Frankenstein electrical sounds. He falls to the ground in the front yard, basically, in pain, like he's being tasered or something.
Then we cut to current time, or I guess 2008 in this case.
50 years later.
50 years later, so that would be 1997. We have words to read again. Day 1, Tuesday.
And we see Simons has the watch, the pocket watch.
Yes, Simons has the watch.
He looks like a professor.
And we see who we learn is Dr. Mathers, Joshua. I call him Joshua most of the time. Arriving on a train.
I call him Mathers, but...
Mathers. And Leah Robinson is there waiting for him. She is a reporter for the college newspaper, the Cambridge newspaper, I guess.
The Varsity.
And he agrees to give her an interview. And we see headlines about the Florida recount election. This is the first time we see it. We see it a couple of times, though.
We do, yeah.
What year was that, Karen?
2000?
Was it? Yeah, probably was. Makes sense. And here I wrote they're creating an isolation chamber or some shit.
But that doesn't make sense because it should be 1997. If it was 50 years later. But if they're showing that newspaper, is it 2000?
It is 2000 election. So isolation chamber, and then we meet Professor Haddo.
Well, we meet Victor.
Victor in the isolation chamber. He's like
he's the computer geek.
Right.
Right?
And it's really like I couldn't come up with another name other than isolation chamber, but it's really like a whole like computer simulation, virtual reality, deprivation tank or some shit.
Yeah, it almost looks like a freezer.
It's like a glass octagon.
Well, there's a glass octagon around, like, what do you call those freezers that are on the ground?
Kind of looked like a crypt.
It did.
A chest freezer.
Yes, a chest freezer, but like a big one.
And so then we meet, like I said, Professor Haddo talking to his students and about theology, apparently, and he has a very pronounced stutter. Then we cut back to the chamber. Victor arrives.
Wait, Victor arrives?
Well, Professor Haddo and Victor hook up. And Professor Haddo is apparently going to perform one. Well, you know what I mean. Well, maybe if he's Aleister Crowley, maybe they do, Karen.
He's not Aleister Crowley yet.
But Professor Haddo was going to perform one of Crowley's rituals, ? I wrote. I had lots of question marks at the end of my sentences in this film. And I've seen it before.
It seems like Victor and Haddo are kind of friends because when Victor comes in, they have an ongoing chess game, which Victor's much better at than Haddo is. Yeah, they start talking about Aleister Crowley and how his rituals are reenacted and if they'd be able to trace the virus to the Z93, which didn't make any sense to me. I don't know what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
Victor
Z93
says, not the way I'm
computer.
working on it. He has an external key and he wants to know if he can open it. And they start talking about sexual magic. That's the one way to our primitive emotions, according to Crowley, is sex.
Then at one point, Victor opens like the chest freezer, as you called it, Karen. And there's a naked woman in there.
Was that Victor or was that Mathers? I couldn't tell.
No, it wasn't.
The beginning,
Mathers.
I couldn't tell who it was.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't Joshua. I don't think. I wrote Victor.
No, because.
And the woman appears to be Leah.
And then there's knocking on the door. I think it's the professor. Because he says later, I thought I dreamed you.
That's true. He did, didn't he?
It's Mathers dreaming about. He goes in, opens up what I called the metal coffin. There's a lovely lady inside who looks like Leah. She opens her eyes and reaches her hand up, touches his face and kisses him. And I wrote, is that Victor? I'm not sure. No, that's Mathers. But she's not fully formed.
Yeah, she has an appendage of some shit.
It's like it's like an intestine or something. Like she's forming, but she's not fully, she's only formed from the waist up. She hasn't completely.
Yeah. And then he wakes up and we see, he's dreaming.
Because there's knocking at the door.
And it's Leah.
And she gets frustrated and leaves.
Then we see the students talking about the college newspaper.
Yeah, they're giving Leah shit because she didn't get the story because he didn't answer the door.
And they begin, I don't know, they're talking about Freemasonry or some shit.
They say it's all the higher ups in the university are Freemasons.
Of course they are. Then we cut to a Masonic temple.
And we see there's a meeting.
Yeah, there's a meeting. And we see Professor Haddo there, and we learn he's a member, and they're conducting an initiation for a new member, is what they're doing.
Yes.
And we see Victor waiting outside as everyone leaves, and
But he was in there also. He was listening to the initiation.
Victor
He was up. Yeah, he was up in the balcony
Oh, okay.
briefly.
Okay.
But they say to the initiant, who has a bag over his head and looks like he's wearing a toga or something, I don't know, keep quiet, basically, or we'll rip your tongue out. It's pretty intense. Don't talk about Fight Club, basically. But Victor does meet Haddo outside the meeting.
And Simmons is there as well.
In the meeting, yes.
Yeah, and as he's leaving, he says, "That's the last time I saw him alive," referring to Haddo.
That's the last time he knows he saw him alive.
And we're back at I called it the chamber. And Victor opens the lid to the freezer chest freezer. And I wrote, Haddo seems hesitant.
Yeah, and Victor's like, are you scared? What are you afraid of? An encounter with him or with your secret self? So how do they know that Crowley's in there? Is Victor putting something in there?
They put him in. They loaded him in there into the program.
Oh, okay. I kind of missed that part. All right.
They don't really explain it, but yeah.
That's really all the occult.
They try to at the end, but they don't do a very good job of it. Spoilers, boys and girls.
So that's what all the occult symbols. So when he was looking at all the occult symbols and the people walked in and he kind of, when you're doing something you shouldn't and you slam your computer down. I don't know if you've ever done that, Greg.
No, never.
Well, that's what happened, but I didn't see what he was doing. So that must have been it.
And Haddo asks, will I really be able to experience him? So then we see Leah arriving, and she's waiting for the interview with
Mathers.
Joshua. And Haddo puts on a suit, and we see a bunch of symbols, Masonic symbols and occult symbols.
Yeah.
Words to read.
Well, wait. So Leah basically walks in on them while they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. So Victor has got Haddo in the suit. Do they pull it out of the chest? I don't even know where it came from.
It's just there. It's a suit.
But where'd the chest go?
Don't know.
Just disappeared at some point. But she sees it, but Victor says, this is a restricted area. Get out of here. And she just leaves. So she doesn't even know what she saw.
Day 2, Wednesday. Back at the chamber, Leah begins interviewing Dr. Joshua. He says something about trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's or something, or maybe not a cure, but helping Alzheimer's patients because his father had it or some shit.
Yeah, so he's thinking that you can transfer memories into a human. So once you've lost the memories, he's saying if you can transfer things from a computer to computer, why can't you transfer from computer to a brain? So he's trying to help people who have lost their memories. That's why he started doing it. Because she asked him, why did you build the contraption? I don't know what you would call it. So Victor's listening to this the whole time. That's how we hear it. Because they're on video. What do you call it?
Surveillance.
Well, yeah. Close. What is it when it's close?
Closed circuit.
Yes, close. And then he turns off the microphone and he makes a call because he's looking for Haddo. He can't find him anywhere.
Yeah, he tries to call him. And here I wrote, Leah and Joshua have some wordplay.
Yes, they're flirting.
And Leah leaves and Victor stops her and wants to know if she has seen Professor Haddo.
Well, Mathers asks her out to dinner. Says they'll meet up later. And then Victor's freaking out. And he asks her about Haddo, if she's seen him today. And she says, no, but he'll be in lecture this afternoon.
Then we see Victor at Haddo's office. And it looks like he's been practicing Crowley's signature because it's written a bunch of times on a piece of paper. And there's the chess game again. And
now
Victor is
winning.
Impressed. Yeah, Victor is impressed with Haddo's most recent move. And there's a lecture at the university. Karen Haddo is going to be discussing Hamlet. He enters to the Hallelujah chorus.
And he's shaved his head now.
He shaved his head. He looks a lot better, too.
He does. More put together. They had the bumbling professor.
Yeah.
Very stereotypical, messy hair.
Yeah, he enters with shaved head and he no longer stutters.
Yes, he's not disheveled at all. He's ready to go. And he starts to talk about Shakespeare as an occultist.
Then he mentions England's greatest living poet, Aleister Crowley. Even though he gone, I wrote.
So what do you know about Crowley? You know a lot?
Not a lot.
I looked up a little bit, I'll tell you. Probably things you already know. Born Edward Alexander Crowley, he's primarily known for his occult writings and teachings. He founded the religion of Thelema, I'm guessing, which became adopted by the Ordo Tempus. Thelema, Thelema, and a bunch of other orders. He was also a highly controversial member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. His lifestyle was absolutely shocking in the era in which he lives. Besides his interest in the occult, he was sexually promiscuous with both genders at a time when homosexuality was still illegal in Britain, frequented prostitutes, was vocally defiant against Christianity and Victorian and post-Victorian prudeness towards sexual subjects, and was a drug addict. He detested Christianity, but he considered himself immensely religious and spiritual person. He liked to write about Horus and Thelema, and he pursued the great work which included gaining self-knowledge and uniting the larger universe. He also encouraged seeking out one's ultimate destiny or purpose, commonly referred to as one's true will. I bet he's probably a lot more well-known in England. A lot of the rock stars seem to be fascinated with him who come from England. Isn't Jimmy Page all in it? And
Jimmy Page bought his a home that belonged to him. That's where John Bonham died, actually.
And obviously Ozzy Osbourne, as we've discussed,
or Bob Daisley, and apparently Bruce Dickinson also. True.
I mean, I only have a general idea. I know he was an occultist, and I know he was promiscuous, and but other than that, I don't really know anything about him. So back to the lecture.
Yeah, he starts talking about sex magic. Professor Haddo does. And then he pisses on all the students, Karen.
There's a lot of pee in this movie.
Yeah, quite a bit.
The front row.
More than usual, I would say.
Yes. He pees on the front row. Another reason not to sit up there.
Then we see the students, including Leah, eating lunch.
Talking about the lecture and how crazy it was.
Yeah, and she asks about Crowley, and they talk about him being on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and other things. And
is he? I don't know. Is he on
is.
there?
Yes, he is. So
what else is on
add
the
the
cover?
Beatles. Add the Beatles to your list of English musicians. There's lots of things on the cover. I mean, Johnny Weissmuller's on it. I think Clark Gable's on it.
Sort
Buster
of random
Keaton's
things.
on it. Yeah, Curious George, I think, is on it.
So not only occultists or anything.
No, I think even like Marilyn Monroe, probably. There's a bunch of people on it. But they do say that Crowley died long ago. So next we cut to...
Well, they said he scandalized the world by practicing an A to Z of ritual fetishes. But then we cut to being called on the carpet.
So we got Aleister Crowley, Mae West, Lenny Bruce, W.C. Fields, Carl Jung, Edgar Allan Poe, Fred Astaire, Bob Dylan, not reading everybody, Aldous Huxley, just the ones I recognize, Marilyn Monroe, Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, Karl Marx, H.G. Wells, James Joyce, Stuart Sutcliffe, who was a former Beatle, Marlon Brando, Tom Mix, Oscar Wilde, Tyrone Power, Johnny Weissmuller, like I said, Stephen Crane, George Bernard Shaw, Lewis Carroll, T.E. Lawrence, Sonny Liston, Einstein, Betty Davis, Marlene Dietrich, or Marlene Dietrich, Shirley Temple. So there's just a handful of them. So then we see Haddo being investigated by like the university. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
he's called
board.
to the carpet. Yeah, he's in trouble. He peed on students. I'm pretty sure that's going to get you in a meeting about your behavior.
Yeah, and he explains that he is the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley to the board, their regents or whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah, they say, well, why don't we give you some time off so you can go see a doctor? And he says, I'm in excellent health, as it says he calls it Satan's book.
Satan's book, and it's the Holy Bible, right?
Yeah, and in 3 days, my resurrection will be complete.
And they call it kind of like calling him on referencing the Bible. Then they say, you know nothing about it. And he like tosses over to him and tells him to pick any scripture or pick anything. And they don't even pick. They just turn a page and he knows what page they're on, right?
Right.
He starts reading the scripture from that page they're on.
And it's not flattering.
I think he picks and chooses which ones he wants to read from that page. But yeah, they're all
about virgins and keeping the young girls for yourself.
Right.
And then he said, and one of the guys says, well, that's just the Old Testament. Let's talk about our Lord. And they open to the New Testament and it's not any better.
No.
It's about homosexuals, I think. And not in a bad way.
And as Haddo was getting ready to leave, he asks Simmons if the watch is still keeping good time.
And he says, don't worry, it's not your fault. It was that thieving young friend of yours, Alex.
So Leah stops Haddo as he is leaving and asks him for a few lines for the newspaper. And he talks more about sexual magic and do what thou wilt.
Well, they are meeting. She's outside the bursar's office, which is where she's going to meet Mathers. And I didn't know what the bursar's office was. Did you? It's where all the money stuff happens.
Yes, I know. That's where I went to pay my bills, Karen, in university.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. That part is just wiped from my mind, but that's where she is.
You were probably under scholarship, Karen. You didn't have to pay your bills.
I still had bills to pay.
I was on a music scholarship for a year, but whatever.
So wait, before you go on, she wants to know if the board suspended him. And he mocks the board and says they hide in their bedrooms to have sex. And she says, surely you don't advocate sex in public places. And he reminds her of the maypole and how after they danced around the maypole, they had sex outside amongst the views of everyone because everyone was having sex. And he says any offspring from that ritual is known as Robin's son, which is her last name. And he says, how lucky are you that one of your previous ancestors performed a most public sexual ritual. So anyone out there with Robinson, you had some very confident ancestors. And then she asks why he called Aleister Crowley England's greatest living poet. And then Haddo says, because he's not dead. Death is but a short sleep to eternity.
Then Victor enters.
He starts inappropriately touching her hair.
Joshua enters. That's who's winning. Yeah.
And saying that she has the hair of Magdalene. And perhaps your chance at immortality will come sooner than you think.
Then Joshua enters.
He walks right up.
And Haddo seems to know everything about him, even that his mother, who he did not know because he was an orphan, was a redhead. He tells Leah that she should interview him. They have much to talk about.
And Mathers wants to know, how do you know all this about me? Have we met? And he says, on the astral plane.
And we see Simmons in his study. And then a guy enters who I believe is Alex, the science student, in a wheelchair, and asks if he has come back, I guess referring to Crowley. Victor entering his apartment. Lots of candles in there and a pentagram, Karen. Haddo is waiting for him.
And the lights don't work.
No. And Haddo raises his hand and he has wounds as if he were crucified. There's a name for that. What is that called, Karen?
Stigmata.
Stigmata.
Which are marks on a person's body that are like the wounds Jesus got being crucified.
But I wrote Victor isn't buying it. He thinks it's all a trick.
Yeah, he thinks it's just a magic. Because when he first went into the office, Haddo's pouring water into a cup and it turns red. So it's like turning water into wine. He's a bit of a magician. Or he's been doing spell work. We don't know. I don't know.
So then we cut to Leah and Joshua having dinner.
Wait, go back a little bit. Victor starts to look like he got punched in the eyeball. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Here, I keep thinking, why does he look like he got hit in the eye? But he didn't. I don't know. It was kind of, he's not looking good, Victor.
No.
I don't know what's happening to him. But in the dark, he looks like there's black under one of his eyes. But when the light shines on it, it's not as bad. So I thought I was imagining it. But I think it just gets worse and worse over time for some reason.
Yeah, he has like a cut on his forehead or something and above his eye suddenly. So then we cut to Leah and Joshua having dinner. And she has a book she's studying Crowley. She has one of his books. He was a pretty prolific writer. And Joshua is kind of startled that Crowley knew so much about him, including the name of his first girlfriend he had when he was 9.
He was 9. But they start to talk about how he's.
You remember your boyfriend's name when you were 9, Karen?
No, not 9. No.
What grade is that 9? Is that like 3rd grade?
4th grade.
4th grade?
I didn't have a boyfriend in 4th grade.
No
one wanted me, Greg, in 4th grade. Did you have a girlfriend?
I did. I believe her name was Melissa. I don't even remember. She moved away shortly after that, so I never saw her again.
Her parents were so traumatized that you were her boyfriend that they were like, that's it. Pack it up. We're getting out of here.
So then Leah and Josh,
they talk about the uncertainty principle.
Talk about chaos theory, I wrote.
Well, it's the uncertainty principle because it becomes up again later, and I still don't understand it, but I'll read this to you. In quantum mechanics, the uncertainty principle is any of a variety of mathematical inequalities asserting a fundamental limit to the accuracy with which the values for certain pairs of physical quantities of a particle, such as position x and momentum p, can be predicted from initial conditions. But she just says chaos after that.
Of course.
Okay, so basically we're establishing him as a theoretical physicist from Caltech because he was wondering, how does he know all this about me? And she says, well, you're from Caltech. The head of Caltech was also the head of a Crowley organization in America, Jack Parsons.
Mm-hmm. American rocket engineer, chemist, and Thelemite. Is that how you said it?
Yeah, I guess.
Thelemite occultist.
So she thinks that's the connection that, Jack Parsons must have told him.
One of the principal founders of both Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Aerojet Engineering Corporation.
They're flirty through the whole dinner. She says chaos, and he says exactly the inability to link cause and effect. She says the unexpected, and he says you got it. And then they toast to the unexpected. Ooh, love connection.
I didn't have that yet.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
It says love connection right there. Yeah. I do have it. I knew I would say it at some point. It's right here.
But then we cut to Crowley and at Victor's place.
Yeah, and Crowley's burning a pornographic picture apparently that Victor had. And as he's burning it, the whore of Babylon appears, Karen. Apparently.
Well, Crowley's just...
It's not quite the whore of Babylon, because didn't we cover that in The Omen or something?
I think we did.
Isn't that the one with the beast with the serpent's head? No, well, this didn't look like that at all, Karen. This was a hot.
This is her human form.
And we see 2 bare breasts, mostly bare breast. I wrote.
Yes, they're just lifted up by a half bra or something.
Yeah, and then she strips naked. Yep. And Crowley, I wrote, is he jacking Victor off?
I couldn't tell if he was or if he was having sex with him.
I think he was jacking him off. And then he has the whore of Babylon go down on him, right?
He's whispering encouragement the whole time. Crowley's riling him up. And then, yes, it was odd.
And then Crowley tells her to take him to the abyss. I was like, oh, fuck, what's that? Are you going to kill him?
Yes, take him to the abyss, which isn't such a good thing, I think, is what I wrote. But he finally gets to say him. He's like, what's my name? While she's pleasuring him. Who am I? Who am I? And he finally yells, Crowley. So Victor has been converted to believing he's Crowley.
So then we see Victor and Leah having relations, more bare breasts, and then Haddo stabs Victor in the eye with a needle, right in the fucking pupil.
Well, I'm calling him Crowley now. I don't think Haddo's in there anymore.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wrote, oh!
I did too.
Oh! Haddo stabs him right in the eye with a needle.
And you see it.
Yeah.
You see the needle go into the eyeball.
Yeah. I have a thing about eyeballs. That just like, whoa! And I'd seen it before, but I'd forgotten that shit. But anyway, day 3, Thursday. Then we see Joshua and Leah, right?
Yeah, it's the day after.
Okay.
They're in Leah's apartment and they're whispering. And he says, why are we whispering? She says, because she has a flatmate named Rose. And they do the walk of shame.
And he talks about an equation he thought of when they first met. And we see the scar on his arm for some reason, which I thought that may mean something, but no, it doesn't.
I think it's supposed to, but I think it goes over our head because it comes back later.
It does. But just
I didn't see it.
Like one sentence about it.
Yeah, but
And then they meet her roommate.
Rose, yeah.
Then we're back in the lab, I'm calling it now, even though it's like the isolation chamber or the virtual reality place or whatever it is. We cut back and forth a few times here. Then we cut to a pile of poop on the dean's desk.
Is that what it is?
Yes. I guess Crowley defecated on the desk of the dean.
Nice. And then right before that, Mathers is putting the professor into the suit. Who's going in the suit?
Professor Brent.
He does ask him about his scar, and he says it was a fall in Siberia. And the professor thinks he means Russia, but he's like, no, it's a joke about cyberspace, Siberia. And they ha ha ha. But I don't get it.
Yeah, I neither.
But I guess he fell when he was doing the virtual reality thing and got the big scar on his arm. And then there's a big pile of poop on the desk.
Hello, boys and girls. Karen and I hope you are enjoying the podcast. You know what I think can make your listening experience even better? A delicious themed adult beverage. You can find all our drink recipes on our website, scaryspirits.com, in the recipe den. Tune in every Wednesday and join us for a drink. Now, back to the show.
And Professor Brent goes into his virtual reality computer simulation and ends up going into a space that is not included in the computer simulation. Opens a door and it's nothing but darkness in there.
It's supposed to have something in there, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. And he ends up in a Masonic temple. No one can see what's going on now. Like Victor.
Not back at headquarters.
Joshua.
Yeah.
Is it Joshua?
I don't know. I called him Mathers the whole time.
Yeah, it's him. And Hallow is there. And a tentacle comes from his head and stabs Professor Brent right in the mouth.
Well, it's Crowley.
Yeah, it is.
His head splits in two.
It splits in two and a tentacle comes out.
Like an alien, like an intestine alien arm or something.
Then the computer goes apeshit and throwing a bunch of warnings and
and everything's smoking and
brain overload and nothing but sevens going across the screen.
What's the significance of that?
It's like the holy number.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's like the Holy Trinity, sevens, and sixes are the opposite.
because they'd said earlier nine was the number of life and death, and sixes you would think would be, I didn't know why seven came up. So
Yeah. And then there's a flat line. So I think he's dead, but he's not. So then we see Crowley, and he was apparently leaving like a whorehouse or something, or
yes.
or is this the massage parlor? I don't know.
Well, it's the same thing.
Okay.
And he says he's requesting a redhead be
Yeah.
delivered tonight.
And as he's leaving, he walks past the newspaper rack, and we see another newspaper about the Gore Bush election. Then he follows a man to the public restroom, Karen.
Yes, he sees a man in a purple velvet suit that he likes, and he follows him into the restroom.
Then we see Leah in the library, I guess. And she opens a book, and she finds an inscription in it, kind of to her, right?
Yeah, she's looking for a picture of Crowley. They sent her off. They wanted a picture of Haddo bald, and a picture of Crowley to see how, I don't know, just to have in their article. And she opens the book, and on the inside cover, there's a note to her. I couldn't read it, but
It says, "To Leah, who makes me with a pure heart and the serpent's flame there, and for her red hair."
yeah,
Something
it didn't
like
make any sense to me.
Oh,
So
scarlet woman, be thou be willing to give all. Will thou? Maybe it says, "Oh, scarlet woman, will thou be willing to give all?" Maybe that's what it says. I paused it and tried to write it down, but then we see Crowley, and he's wearing the suit of the man that he went into the bathroom with. I like it.
fits him perfectly, too. It's snazzy.
And he enters a spiritualist shop, I wrote, Karen? Question
Yes,
mark? Lots of
called
crystals
Isis.
and bullshit.
Well, there's a woman there and her sister.
Sister
the
has
woman
a
is
bad back. I remember that.
yes. She wasn't planning on having a ritual tonight, but he basically gives her instructions. But yes, the sister has a bad back, and he says, "I know an ancient ritual that can help you." And then they go to the computer. I called it the computer lab.
Yeah, with
They're
Leah.
talking in and around the suit.
Examining Professor Brent, I think.
Yes.
And apparently he's brain dead or some shit. No, they say something about his brain wave or something.
His brain he had a heart attack, is what
Yeah.
the doctor standing there says. His heart will recover, but his brain appears frozen. But they're just standing there. I don't know how they didn't even take him to the hospital or anything. Or was he gone and they were just examining the suit?
Well, he pops up later, so he ain't gone. I don't know.
No, but I don't know if he was there at that moment.
I know what you're saying.
I'm
now,
like,
yeah.
are they just standing over him going, well, his brain? But I now that I think about it, he's probably not in the suit. They're probably just looking at the suit. But the dean is pissed. As it's dangerous. He says, you can't have this anymore. And Mathers is like, well, it's just a suit. It's not real. It's an illusion. He doesn't know why this happened. And he said, who was in the suit last? And Mathers says, it was me at Caltech.
And we cut to Crowley back at the spiritualist shop. And he places an order for 12 items and asks for the key to the upstairs room.
He's also fixed the sister's back.
Yes, yes.
You get a brief glimpse of her rear end leaned over a table or something. Yeah.
I didn't see that either.
But he needs important items. Some of them are expensive. And you're right. He asked for a key to the upstairs room, and no one can go up there without his permission.
And then we cut back to the lab or whatever.
Yeah, Victor's nervous. Well, Victor's nervous because they're trying to figure out if someone else was in the suit. So he runs off because he doesn't want anyone to know.
Yeah, so it's Victor. Is it Victor that tells Leah there's something wrong with the program and it's adding a lot of information? Or is it Joshua? So yeah,
I think it's Josh. It's Mathers.
Gotcha. And Joshua tells her that he was the last one in the suit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But she tells him that he wasn't the last person in the suit. Because she saw Victor with Haddo, and she says it was Haddo in the suit.
Yeah. So we see Joshua talking to the dean and Simmons, right?
Simons, I called him, yeah.
Simons, yeah. He tells them that he believes Haddo was in the suit before Dr. Brent, right?
Yes, and he thinks that
Victor, and he
Haddo thinks that he's Aleister Crowley.
Because Joshua says he believes that Victor inserted information into Z93 about Aleister Crowley.
Yes, his energy coordinates that specifically relate to Crowley. And 1920s jazz starts playing. And Crowley's getting out of the cab in his fancy suit to meet his redhead girl.
Redhead wearing a wedding dress, a short wedding dress, Karen.
Yes, very 1980s.
And a veil.
Yes.
And they talk about the 12th day of Christmas and how Jesus was actually born on January 6th and that December 25th was the pagan holiday and so on and so forth.
Constantine pushed it back so the Christian simpletons wouldn't know they were really worshiping the sun.
Then Crowley discovers that the girl is not a natural redhead, Karen.
Yes. What do they say? The carpet doesn't match the drapes or something?
I guess that's what they say, Karen. I don't know.
He says, redhead my ass. And he rips off her wig and shows her a razor.
And she is a blonde.
He's not happy.
Got to Joshua meeting with Simons. And Simon says he knows a lot about Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, he doesn't know about computers, but he knows a lot about Crowley.
Then we see Crowley shaving the girl with his straight razor.
Yeah, not her head.
Back to the lab with Z93. That's the name of the computer, apparently. Joshua and Simons discuss Crowley. Simons sees the inscription to Leah in the book, and he seems worried.
He does.
Then Leah confronts Victor. And Victor tells her that Haddo has been possessed by Aleister Crowley. He says something about E equals MC squared, and then what is it backwards?
I don't know.
Matter from nothing, basically, is what he's trying to say.
He's pretty chatty with her, telling her things. I don't know why.
And we come back to the massage parlor.
He says it's the second coming. They talk as they go down the stairs. It's the ultimate transplant. Tonight, the chosen 12 witness the impossible. And then back to the massage parlor.
Knock at the door. She opens it, and the blonde-haired girl is nailed to the door.
Like Christ through her hands.
Yes, and we see one more bare breast, Karen.
Because Crowley asked the girl when she showed up, whose idea was this? Was this your idea to wear the wig? And she said, no, it was whatever the woman's name from the massage parlor was. I can't remember her name.
And we cut back to the spiritualist shop, and there are people lined up to go upstairs to that upstairs room, Karen. About 12 of them, I would guess.
I would guess.
Including Dr. Joshua, right?
Yeah.
So they all enter, and then a girl enters in I call it a sheer nightgown, Karen.
It's very sheer, and a violinist is playing.
And she has everyone sip wine. She says, sip the wine, which represents the holy blood. And I wrote, not quite bare breast, but
close enough.
Close enough.
You can see them.
Yes.
And I said I wouldn't drink that, but it's just like in Mass. They do that. You have the cup where the wine represents the blood of Christ.
They'll share it, do they, Karen?
Yeah.
Everyone puts their lips on the same cup.
Yep. And they just, that's why I won't do it. Even when back in the day, they wipe it with a cloth. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not touching that. Never have done that for multiple reasons.
So you've never partaken of the blood of Christ, Karen?
I have not. You're allowed to skip it. They said you could skip it, but there's no way. One little wipe with a napkin isn't getting anything off of there. After 52 people in front of you drink from it, no. You didn't. That was a new thing. They didn't do that in the old days. Like even when I was younger, it was. As I got older, they brought that forward. You take the body of Christ, then you walk
actually
over.
Doing communion?
No, communion is the little wafer.
Yeah. Okay.
That has always been done in my lifetime, but the wine came later. So they stood off to the side. Somebody held the chalice. You could walk over and drink some if you wanted to.
So, not being a Catholic, we did this occasionally. They did this occasionally in my church, Karen. I did not do it, but they gave a wafer and they had like a platter with a bunch of little shot glasses. So each one got their own individual shot.
That's a more sanitary way to do it.
That's the way the Methodists do it, Karen. So anyway, next I have Leah breaks in. Did she break in?
Mathers upstairs spits out his wine into his hand. Yeah. He doesn't swallow it. And we see, someone's breaking into the crystal shop downstairs, and it's Leah.
Yep.
And then we see Crowley's heart beating under his skin.
Yeah, and causes people to urinate, I wrote.
Yes, again, more pee. Someone's overwhelmed and pees themselves.
So then Crowley tells Victor they must prepare for the Scarlet Bride, and we see Leah hiding in a corner, around the corner.
She was on her way up the stairs, but she heard the door open, so she ran down and hid.
He acts like he can kind of smell her, right?
Right, which doesn't make sense because later he can't.
Right. Then she tries to enter the room and it's locked, so she leaves and follows Haddo/Crowley.
Yeah, she's just walking like 10 feet behind them.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a good follower.
Then we hear the Iron Maiden song, The Wicker Man, Karen, beginning with the guitar solo. Through the chorus as Crowley beats up a bum with his cane.
They ask for money and they don't get any. He says something. I don't know what he says. And Crowley just beats him with his cane.
And we cut back to the upstairs room of the spiritualist shop and see a naked girl playing violin. We got more bare breast and there's a freaking orgy going on, apparently, Karen.
But we see Mathers leaves, and I'm like, how did he leave? And he didn't drink the wine.
It's true.
But the door was locked. But I guess it was only locked from the outside. Did he unlock it and leave? Anyway, I don't know. It was weird. He's walking on the street, and there's an orgy upstairs, and then someone sees the beast.
Yeah, I wrote the shop owner screams,
"The beast!"
Is?
Oh, okay.
And then she falls from the window to the alley below. So then Crowley and Victor go see Leah. Her roommate answers the door and then explains that she's not there and she may not be back because she's with a friend. And Crowley pulls a necklace out and hypnotizes her, Karen. Hypnotizes her. Next, we see the police investigating the women falling from the window. And they tell the police that Aleister Crowley is alive. And we see a blind man in the background walking, Karen, and you know who that is?
No, I did not see that.
Bruce Dickinson. Mm-hmm. So then we cut to Crowley and Victor in Leah's apartment.
With Rose.
Yeah, and they have her basically disrobe. They have her take off her bra first, and I guess they convince her that she's on the beach or some shit.
Yeah.
Remove the confines or whatever he says. So she basically strips naked.
This wasn't, I don't even know. They didn't need this.
So we see two bare breasts and Crowley tells her to lie on the couch. And I think Victor rapes her, but we don't see it. But that's what's insinuated, right?
Yes. Because Dr. Victor is going to give her a thorough examination.
Then we see Leah and Joshua comparing the handwriting in the inscription of the book to Crowley's writing.
Yeah, Simons has a letter.
And it appears to be a match.
Yes.
And Joshua begins to believe that Haddo is the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley.
She doesn't believe it, but he does.
Then we cut to Joshua and Leah kissy facing, Karen.
Yes. Joshua tells Leah that Simons told him that Crowley can always spot a weakness and exploit it. So please don't go see him. Promise you won't see him. But she doesn't promise.
Nope.
She just kisses him.
Day 4, Friday, Crowley wakes up and says, she is thinking of me.
We do see her at the
newspaper office.
Yes, and she's typing a new front page article, which must include him.
So then Crowley and Victor perform a ritual, and Victor beats Crowley with a cane, and he seems to enjoy it.
Yes, he lowers his pants, so he's getting spanked with a cane. Very hard.
Then he sends a fax to the newspaper office.
Well,
Karen.
wait, so he just keeps saying harder, harder, while he's reading a spell. So he's masturbating while he's being beaten with a cane, spanked with a cane, really. And Victor is saying the ritual, and in front of Crowley is some ancient symbols or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which
looks like runes.
Yeah. Which Crowley desecrates.
Then he faxes it.
And then he faxes it to Leah at the newspaper office, and when it comes through, it's sticky.
It has a seminal fluid on it, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
And then you see Crowley and Leah in a red room, and he's kissing her neck or something.
Yes, that's what I have. Yeah.
But I don't know what that was, because then we cut
either.
to Mathers, and there's a note left on the pillow by Leah.
And he makes a phone call.
Yes, to her house, right?
I don't know who he's calling, but no one answers. And we see Leah leaving the newspaper office, and she's going to go get a photo of Haddo, right, with her Polaroid camera.
Yes, that makes a shit ton of noise.
So then Dr. Josh calls the newspaper office, and they tell him that Leah just left. So then we see Leah taking Polaroids in Haddo's house, I guess. And Dr. Josh goes to see Simons. He tells him that he can't find Leah anywhere. And Simons shows Joshua paintings of Mary Magdalene, and they all have red hair, Karen.
Yes, they do.
The Scarlet Woman.
The occult power of the Scarlet Woman is something Crowley always emphasized.
Then we see Leah at Crowley's house, and she makes a move too on the chessboard too, right here, doesn't she?
Yes, but then she keeps the piece that she conquered. I don't know.
Then we cut to Simmons introducing Dr. Joshua to Alex.
The guy in the wheelchair with the voice box.
Yep. Tells him that Alex was with him when Crowley died.
And Alex is also in theoretical physics and explains he was cursed. I was wondering what happened to him, because he was just writhing around in the front lawn. So I didn't realize. I thought that might be him, but.
Leah's taking more photos in Crowley's house, Polaroids, and then he enters. She accidentally takes one of herself.
Yeah, she's trying to take a picture of a dead cat that's kind of taxidermed, but the camera doesn't work, so she smacks it to get it to work. And when she does that, it takes a picture of her in the mirror that's right behind her somehow.
Well, at least she has a reflection.
Yes.
Haddo enters, so she hides. Simons and Alex tell Joshua about Jack Parsons creating a moon child the night Crowley died.
Yeah, with Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard?
Yes, probably. And probably with a woman, not just Jack Parsons and Ron Hubbard, but they did the ritual to produce an elemental moon child, and Crowley was furious because all the conditions have to be just right to perform this.
Then we see Dr. Josh making another call, and he tells Simons and Alex that there has been an accident.
Yes, someone picks up the phone. It's at Leah's apartment.
And Simons and Alex drive Dr. Josh to the scene, and Leah's roommate is there hanging naked, Karen. She gone. Then we see Haddo and Victor.
Crowley.
Yep.
And Victor, yeah.
Yeah, Victor and Crowley, and Leah's hiding. And then she sees the Polaroid on the floor of her.
Crowley steps on it.
Yeah.
But why doesn't he smell her now?
Don't know. And then Dr. Joshua and Simons driving, and Simons has Dr. Joshua read a newspaper article about the massage parlor incident. And then Leah starts following Crowley and Victor.
They're about to embark on the greatest occult event in history. Victor will be the only witness. She's trying to get the picture, but he steps on it. There's a storm coming. And then Leah follows them to some sort of church, it looks like. But she's like right behind them. They would hear her footsteps.
I think it's a Masonic temple.
That's probably correct. I
whatever.
would know that. But it had like a baptism font in it. But you're right.
Then Dr. Josh and Simons arrive at Crowley's. They find the Polaroid, so they know Leah's been there. Simons tells Joshua that if Crowley is running out of time, he must perform the chemical wedding. He doesn't know exactly what that is, but he knows one person who does.
Who might know, yeah.
So then we're Masonic Temple. Leah enters to find Crowley. He says the curious cat comes willingly. Victor grabs her and she fights him off, but Crowley...
Pretty brutally. She took self-defense classes in college.
But Crowley injects her with a syringe. Did you make it through this film okay with all the needles, Karen? Were you okay?
It was a little rough.
So then we see Simons and Dr. Josh questioning Professor Brent.
They've hypnotized him. Did you?
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah.
They hypnotized him first, and then they asked him questions.
And they ask him about the chemical wedding. He tells them it requires a knife, a cup, and a reed.
Yes, which are the artifacts or relics from Joseph of Arimathea. In case you want to know who he is, he was the man who assumed responsibility for the burial of Jesus after his crucifixion. Another thing he has a cloth that he wiped down Jesus's bloody body with, and supposedly there's the blood of Christ on the cloth. He's a saint.
But they want to know where the ritual is performed, where the chemical wedding is performed.
And he says Notre Dame, which is in Paris, but that's the last place it happened.
Then we cut to the Masonic Temple, and Crowley is shooting up. And he has Victor remove his watch and has him remove the watch from Leah, who is now passed out.
Yeah, and Victor really wants whatever's left in that syringe.
Yes, he does. And we cut to Josh and Simons talking to Professor Brent some more, and he's mentioning lots of Masonic terms. Lots of Masonic stuff going on here. Then Dr. Joss is going to get into the Z93 suit.
So right before that, sorry, I have a question because, okay, Crowley's shot up with whatever his medicine or his drug is, and he feels the power. I could drink hot blood, he starts saying. And then they talk about the watches, but then he says, it's the witching hour or something like that. But then we cut to Mathers and Simons, and it's the middle of the day. It's like daylight out. Isn't the witching hour like 3:00 in the morning or something?
It should be 3 a.m.
I don't know. It was weird.
I didn't notice.
But Dr. Josh is going to get in the suit.
And he has a zip disk, Karen, containing the experience of Dr. Brent saved on it. Remember zip disks?
Yes, unfortunately, I do. That's why we always tell people they should print their photographs, or they're going to end up on something like that you won't be able to retrieve any of them from.
I still have my computer with a zip drive.
Of course you do.
In a closet, but I could use it if I had to.
You could fire it up if you needed to find those pictures.
I could remember my
Prove
password.
me wrong.
I wonder what my password is. But anyway. Then we see Crowley reciting a bunch of Latin I wrote. Karen, did you make any note? Do you want to tell us what he was saying or anything like that?
Nope.
And then Victor pulls some blood from Leah, and Crowley injects himself with it right in the stomach.
After he kisses it in the syringe.
Yeah.
I said, at least it's not his eyeball. Because the way he was holding it up, I thought, oh my God, it's going in the eyeball. But it did not. He wants his crown, though.
Yeah. So then we see Dr. Josh in the suit going into the same virtual reality world that Professor Brent was in, sees the same Oriental woman or whatever.
It greets him, yeah.
And he tries to follow Professor Brent, but the door is no longer there. So then Simons inserts the zip disk and the door appears.
Because that's the previous doctor's memories or something. Dr. Brent's
program, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's nothing but blackness behind it. Cut to Crowley reciting more Latin.
Victor's hiding behind a pillar at this point. His eye is just getting worse and worse. Is this where the lightning strikes and the glass breaks?
Yep.
Falls
Lightning
down?
crashes.
And Crowley's robes are flying all around. And he's screaming Choronzon, which, if you're interested, is a demon that originated within writing with the...
How do you spell that, Karen?
I'm not going to tell you. 16th century occultist.
I need to know if I need to put it in the...
Edward Kelly and John Dee.
You want me to put it in the notes, show notes? I need to know how to spell it.
Choronzon. But he's screaming that name.
Kind of like Zoso, right? Almost. Back at Z93.
The winds are blowing at the Masonic Temple, but they're also blowing in the virtual reality.
Because apparently it's a black hole, Karen.
Yes. And everything's starting to go in it.
And Simons types in space flight sim, just as Dr. Joshua told him to do in case something went wrong.
Yes.
Because apparently the space-time thing, I don't know. He can turn back time or some shit. I don't know.
But he can all of a sudden see Crowley and Leah, but he can't get to them. There's a barrier
at the temple, but there's some force preventing him from entering. Then he kicks a candelabra over and
she does.
Oh, she does?
She kicks it from her side and she sees him and kicks the candelabra over so that he can get through and they can fight over the syringe, because Crowley has pulled his own blood into the syringe and is walking towards Leah.
Yeah, so Crowley tries to stab Leah with the syringe. Dr. Joshua grabs him and he is stabbed with the syringe in the cheek or something, right?
But then he spits so then it went into his mouth and he spits it out. I thought, how did that happen? Or what's happening? But I get it now.
And then he shoves Crowley's watch into Haddo's mouth.
Yes.
Because I guess, didn't Simons give him the watch?
Yes, because if you have in the occult, if you possess something of someone else's, you have control over them. Anything missing from your house, Greg?
Not that I know of, Karen.
Oh, you'll find out soon.
Will I? How soon, Karen?
I don't know. Just don't piss me off.
So he shoves the watch in his mouth and things reverse.
Yes, everything's going backwards.
And he's back in the suit at Z93, right?
Well, the suit's back.
The suit's back. And I thought it was him, but it's not. If we find it is Professor Haddo in the suit. And he's like wondering what the hell went on, some shit. And Victor tells him he was only in it for 30 seconds. That Leah came in looking for the Dr. Joshua to interview him.
Yes, so time has reversed.
So then we have day 2, Wednesday. We're back to Wednesday. Dr. Joshua is working on the suit and
Simons comes in and says, thank God you're all right. But Mathers doesn't know him.
Yeah,
so Simons is the only one who remembers everything.
Yeah, Simon says to Dr. Joshua, you don't know me, do you? And Joshua says, no, I don't. Should I? And Simons says, no. Then we see Simons and Alex talking, and Simons wondered why he was the only one who was not missing time.
Because they're at the lecture now where Haddo is talking about Shakespeare and Hamlet.
And Alex talks about physics and the parallel universe, and that scientific equations can be reversed. And they hypothesize that in some parallel universe, Aleister Crowley is still roaming.
Yeah, they bring up Schrodinger's cat. Do you know about that?
Nope.
I'm just going to give you the briefest of brief things. Schrodinger's cat, as a thought experiment, states that if you seal a cat in a box with something that can eventually kill it, you won't know if the cat is alive or dead until you open the box. So until you open the box and observe the cat is simultaneously dead and alive. Basically, you don't know what the answer is until you
open the box.
Yes. What's in the box? They do say that Crowley's wandering around in a parallel universe. And I think it's Alex that says, well, that universe is a much more evil place. One of them does. And Alex says, there'll be wars, earthquakes, atrocity in their world. And they walk by the newspaper and they say, thank God he's not in our universe. And then they walk by the newspaper and Al Gore is president, is what it says. So I don't know if that's a ding on Al Gore, or I thought, so he's in
I think it's a ding on George Bush. Because
I was like, so he's in our universe where George Bush is president.
Right. Thank God.
And
they walk past a sign that says, Psychology of Hamlet by Professor Oliver Haddo. So they're, going to the fucking lecture. Cut back to the lab, where Z93 is, and apparently there's a problem. The day and time is set 2 days in the future, and there's no way to reset it. Victor asks Dr. Joshua if there's a code to reset the helmet, and Dr. Joshua tells him to try 12-1-47.
And he says, that's my birthday. And I was like, birthday. That would make him 53. I said, that's not right. And then I was like, oh, crap, it's Crowley's death day.
It is.
Yeah.
Would have made him 53 in 2008 or 2000?
Well, 2000.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's also, and then Victor says, well, that's the day Aleister Crowley died. And then the computer screen reads Moonchild. And we see Haddo giving his lecture on Hamlet. Simons and Alex are there. Alex asks Simons, where's Crowley's watch? And we hear a clock ticking as we zoom in on Haddo's mouth. Credits.
And they imply that Mather's now Crowley with that whole little thing. Because they're like, how did he get out of the room? And they make it sound like Crowley's now in Mather.
I didn't get that.
So he's in every universe.
But the first line on the credits say, on the seventh day, the old king gave me a golden medal, bearing on one side the words, art is the priestess of nature, and on the other, nature is the daughter of time. This
I don't know what that means.
The Chemical Wedding. The Chemical Wedding, 1616. Then we hear the song Man of Sorrows, another Bruce Dickinson solo record, not The Chemical Wedding. Then we have credits in the end, Karen. Woo! We're out. All right, Karen. What did you really enjoy in this film?
It's a good question, Greg.
Tell us. What did you really enjoy?
Not a whole lot. I don't know if I can say. Why don't you go first, and I'll see if I can build up what you liked.
I thought Simon Cowell was very good.
He played
Crowley and Oliver Haddo.
Yeah, he was creepy.
He's very good. That. He's a good actor. He's won lots of awards, Karen. He was made commander of the British Empire by Elizabeth II in 1999. He played the lead in Amadeus in the play, not the film, obviously, but
he did. I will say he did a nice job of making the two personalities distinct. The bumbling professor into Crowley. There was never a question who was who, even though, Crowley had a head shave and all that, but he definitely, once he was Crowley, he just reeked of confidence on the screen, I thought.
Yeah, he was very good. I thought the other actors in general were okay too, but he was so much better than them, all the rest of them. But I think the story had
potential.
I think they got lost or something.
I think virtual reality must have been very new in 2000, or when was this? 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's one of those. Ooh, what could this new machinery do, take over the world kind of thing.
Right.
Like the Matrix almost.
Yeah, I could totally see Bruce doing that too. Yeah. I mean, the music was good.
Okay. Nobody's going to argue with that.
It was out in 2008. So he was well into his second run with Iron Maiden by this point when this came out.
Crucial information.
He does include The Wicker Man, which is on his return.
So is he trying to sell solo albums here?
No, I don't think so. There's a song from Chemical Wedding, there's a song from Accident of Birth, and there's a song from the Iron Maiden album, Brave New World.
Okay.
So, there is a little bit of Can I Play with Madness too that we hear at one point.
I was waiting to see if you were going to miss that, and I'd bring it up.
Yeah, which is off Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which also has the song Moonchild in it. So, anything else you enjoyed, Karen?
Not particularly.
All right. Was there anything you didn't like? Anything at all?
Actually, it's not that I didn't like it. Here's my interpretation or my feeling when I watched this movie. This is a movie where somebody whoever wrote it, Bruce and whoever and his partner, they know too much about certain subjects in so much detail, and they want to cram all that in that the general population can't possibly understand it. There's just so much in there that's beyond, I'm looking up who's this person, who's this demon, who's he referencing here? It would be like if I was trying to write a story about genetics, but I went with, VDJ recombination and RAG proteins, something that I studied in depth, right? You would have no idea what I was talking about. But to me, it seems normal because it's something that I did every day, I think it's just, it just got lost in way too much. I don't want to use the word mythology, but what's a better word than that? Trying to get all the names of everything and the rituals and, like so much of it could have been cut out and simplified. We were just talking about dumbing it down for the Americans, but there was just too much detail. It kind of got lost. You couldn't figure out what they were talking about, even with the computer stuff. I don't know if the computer stuff they were talking about and the terms they were throwing out were real or not. But the equations and everything that they were using were real. So I'm assuming it just was way too sophisticated in the occult. I mean, a lot of people don't know what the Masons do. A lot of people don't, it's just everything was in there.
Yeah, so it was written by Bruce Dickinson and Julian Doyle, and Julian Doyle directed the film. He was previously known for his work with Monty Python. He did all the Monty Python shit, all their movies. But he did something with them, either edited or effects or directing or whatever. He also directed the video for the Iron Maiden video, "Can I Play with Madness," which is not one of my favorites. And he actually wrote a book called Chemical Wedding.
Huh. It was so choppy in its direction. It would flip from one place to the other. There were scenes in it, couldn't figure out if they were real or imaginary or what was happening. There was a big coffin in that glass room where the suit was. All of a sudden, that just disappears. It's gone. We don't know who killed Rose. We assume we know, but it's just like so many things, which I'm sure if you were someone who studies the occult, probably watched this film and was impressed with all the detail and the little storylines and all of that, the names that were thrown out, the Bible verses, all of that. But it just is like noise when you're watching it and you don't know that stuff. You almost want to move on so we can have something happen that means something to me.
I agree. Keep it simple, stupid. Right?
But it's hard to do that sometimes when you know so much. We used to talk about in graduate school, explain it like you would tell it to your mom when you write.
We say kindergartner in the IT world, but yeah.
But somebody who doesn't know anything about what you do, and someone says to your mom, well, what does your daughter do? She needs to have that basic understanding of what, because she would always say, I don't know. I don't understand it. So I think in some ways it's actually impressive with the amount of knowledge, but it's lost. You get lost in.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, yeah, and I know this too, and I know this, and oh yeah, let's put in Moonchild, and
as Stevie Ray Vaughan once said in an interview, sometimes one note means a lot more than 1,000 that never get there. Right?
Yeah, it's just, I'm sure you got things out of it in the second watch that.
Not a lot.
I get frustrated when I can't understand something, and I was completely lost a lot of the time. And Victor looked too much like Mathers.
Yeah, I
confused them in the beginning. And help me out, get a blonde and a dark hair guy or something so that I can tell who's who.
All right, what kind of cocktail rating you want to give this film, Karen?
I mean, I will say the actor saved it who played Crowley, because if he was bad, this would have been a 5, but I'll say it's a 4 because he was good.
It is a 4.
But if he was bad.
And I knew it was a 4 when I picked it, but just because it's Bruce's birthday, I had to do it. So.
Well, happy birthday, Bruce.
Oh man, it's a hard movie to.
You got to think too much.
Yeah. A lot like work.
Which I think if we weren't taking notes, maybe I could have absorbed more.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to make sure I understood it. But if I had let it flow a little better.
I feel like it might be one of those that, like, on the 10th time watching it, laying on the couch, I might like it better.
But yes, just letting it kind of flow over you and not trying to interpret everything and understand everything. I think if you know the terms and knowledge that we told you in this, it would help. So if I watched it again, I think I would get a better understanding because I know some of the terms and I know kind of what they're trying to go for. But man, oh man, that was a tough one.
It was. I'm not going to lie. I knew it going in. What'd you think of the Absinthe Frappè?
That's a little rough too.
It's a tough one too. Yeah, I still have quite a bit left.
I don't hate it. It's not like the Red Eye. That one was, I think, I don't know if we'll ever top that, but.
No, it's not quite that, but if you like Absinthe, you'll like it.
Yes, I agree. I don't think it's bad. I don't think we would make it again, but.
I already have a headache. I feel it coming.
It would be an interesting Halloween drink.
All right, Karen, anything we learned today?
Oh, what did we learn? About Trinity College, about Aleister Crowley, a little bit, about Heloise and Abelard, what the bursar's office is, stigmata, the uncertainty principle, who Joseph of Arrhythmia is, who Choronzon, the demon.
Is it Choronzon or Choronzo?
There's an N on the end.
Ah, Choronzon. Good. I need to know exactly.
Yes. And Schrodinger's cat experiment. That's all I got. You got a lot of musical references in there.
Yeah, lots of Iron Maiden and Bruce Dickinson and little Ozzy Osbourne and Bob Daisley. And I found it interesting. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but so on Amazon Prime, it was called Crowley, but once you clicked on it, it said Bruce Dickinson presents Crowley or Crowley.
I saw that I had that in my notes. Yeah. So did he pay for it?
I don't know. Like I said, he and Julian Doyle wrote the screenplay. But he didn't produce it. One of the executive producers was Andy Taylor, who works for Sanctuary I guess, I think it's Sanctuary Management. Sanctuary Records, which they manage Iron Maiden. He's co-manager of Iron Maiden. Apparently it went right to video, I think.
Yeah. It probably has a lot of Easter eggs for occultists.
I could not find a review, Karen, so we have no Critics Corner.
Do you have Rotten Tomatoes or anything?
Okay, Rotten Tomatoes has a 30% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That ain't good, Karen.
Seems high. This is one of those movies that shows you how difficult it is to write a screenplay.
It's not different than writing a song.
Well, or even a book. It's
IMDb has a 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Again, not good.
A lot of occultists on IMDb.
All right, Karen, we know that this week was Bruce Dickinson's birthday, but I understand there is another birthday this week.
A very important one?
Is there? I don't know. Is there?
Well, there's probably a lot. I'm guessing Bruce Dickinson wasn't the only one born this week.
No, I'm saying, someone that we may know.
Someone special?
Yes. That's a friend of the show, Karen.
Well, who might that be, Greg?
I don't know, Karen. You tell me.
Could it maybe be Courtney?
Courtney. Is she celebrating a birthday this week?
I think she's celebrating a birthday today.
Today?
Today.
August 9th?
I think that's true.
Well, we should wish Courtney a happy birthday then.
I believe we should. Should we do it together or separately?
We can try.
We apologize in advance. Happy birthday,
Courtney.
That's terrible. Happy birthday, Courtney. Thank you for listening.
And supporting us.
While doing your own thirsty work.
And counting boobs.
That's Greg's favorite part. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Next film is your choice, I believe, Karen. Is it not?
It is.
What film have you chosen? Do you have a film?
I do have a film.
Okay. What is it?
I've chosen the 1963 film, The Birds.
Any reason you chose that film, Karen?
Alfred Hitchcock had his birthday a couple days before this podcast comes out.
Yeah, so a couple days after this one comes out, it'll be Alfred Hitchcock's birthday, and a couple days before the next episode comes out. Very good, Karen. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure we might have watched it in school. Does that sound right?
We did. Mm-hmm. Mass media.
I can't remember why.
We did with mass media.
Mass media, though, I don't remember me taking that class. I think it was an English class that I saw.
Yeah, it was. Maybe it was. Well, it was Mrs. Brosmere.
I don't know, but
yeah. Well, I had her for mass media, and I did have her for an English class as well. So it could have been one or the other. Do you have a cocktail, Karen?
I do.
Go on.
Called the Crow Cocktail. I hope there's a crow in that movie. But the ingredients are just 2/3. I think it's 2/3 an ounce of whiskey, 1/3 lemon juice, and a dash of grenadine. I guess you could up it. 2/3 whiskey, 1/3 lemon juice, a couple dashes of grenadine if you want more. Shake well in cracked ice and strain into a cocktail glass.
Okay. The Birds. Tippi Hedren, right?
I think so.
Who's her daughter?
Melanie Griffith.
Ah, yes. All right. Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
Well, I would like to thank our listeners. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
I need to once again thank the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
Music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast, where the movies might be iffy, but the drinks are always solid. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. or go to our website, scaryspirits.com. And if you want the direct line, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. If you really want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, always drink responsibly. See you next week.